Today's guest found it difficult to find women who looked like her or came from a similar background as her in the media. Sheena Yap decided to take matters into her own hands and created a platform to support Asian women around the globe. She realized if she wanted representation, it would have to start with her. She started her podcast in 2015 called The Tao of Self-Confidence, with a mission to boost Asian women's self-confidence to live their authentic lives. She is the top 100 Filipinos to follow on LinkedIn for inspiration and learning in 2020 and has been featured in several media outlets along with the new book Asian Women Who Boss Up, a compilation of secrets from women who are forging their own path and thriving. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Sheena. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Hi, Jasmine. I'm so honored to be here today. Thanks for having me. And to anyone listening, thanks for tuning in.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So I'm really excited to have you here because I feel like we have a very special topic here that I personally resonate with a lot. Your story that you have to share, and that I really think that there's a lot of people from many different cultures as well that can really resonate as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and your journey thus far?
For sure. I was born in the Philippines, moved to Canada when I was 7.
Mhm.
And growing up here in Canada, I never saw anybody who looked like me on TV or in
Mhm.
big billboards or in magazines. And
Yeah.
because of that, I was very ashamed of being Asian.
Mm.
For the longest time, I wanted to name myself Heather, have blonde hair and blue
Yeah.
eyes because that's
Yeah.
what I thought being beautiful was. And I'm pretty sure a lot of
Yeah.
people can relate to that.
Yes.
And I realized that for me, representation, that was something I always wanted, is something that I always
Mhm.
craved for. And I
Mhm.
realized the only way to have representation is to create it. So five
Yes.
years ago, I created the Tao of Self Confidence, where I
Mhm.
interview Asian women about their journey to self confidence. And
Yeah.
my main thing is to create a stronger representation of Asian women because,
Mhm.
society still sees us as quiet, submissive, obedient.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I want to eliminate that. I want to
Right.
showcase strong, powerful Asian women
Yeah.
who've been through the worst of the worst, but can still get up, still move forward, and still
Mhm.
thrive. And so,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm always trying to find different platforms to elevate Asian women's voices because I think it's so
Mhm.
important.
Right, right. And it's funny that you say, blonde hair, blue eyes, and your name is Heather. I was blonde hair, blue eyes, maybe green, maybe hazel on some days, and my name was Amanda. Like I really just had this vision that I needed to fit in. And and what's funny is that I actually went to a predominantly minority school, but I still felt like I needed to assimilate to this other culture that I didn't actually was directly surrounded by. They were out on the streets, they were out around me, but the schools that I went to didn't necessarily have the blonde hair, blue eyed child there. They had one or two. There was a girl named Agatha. That's an unusual name, but um, it was just like I still felt like even though I went to a predominantly minority school, I still had that same thought process. And growing up in America, being first generation, same thing. I just needed to figure out my way, my simulation. How do I fit in? Didn't feel like I fit in. I feel like Connie Chung was our person on TV, and then I think Chrissy Yamaguchi was like I was so into figure skating. She was the next person, and so they started finally appearing slowly. But you're right. Like growing up, it was so difficult for us, and not just Asian women, but all types of different nationalities and diversities. There, we were just in general so underrepresented on television in the media that I hear you and I 100% am on board with you, and I'm so happy that you're doing this. So, so you mentioned during our meet and greet that growing up there were parts of where you felt like at times you were ashamed of your culture. Can you just kind of speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, in my 20s, I actually decided to dye my hair like blonde with like brown streaks because I thought, it was the cool thing to do, and
Yeah.
just to for me to look less Asian, not
Uh
have
huh.
this like dark brown hair.
Uh huh.
And to be honest, I didn't really like it. Even just like to upkeep it was like way too much. And I
Yeah.
realized, you know what, I just needed to go
Hmm.
back to my original hair color. And I think
Yeah.
that was the first time I realized like I really do appreciate being Asian, like having my natural hair color,
Hmm.
having my my small eyes, my flat
Mhm.
nose, my pale skin.
Yeah.
Like I was actually finally okay with that. Another one is like I mentioned growing up, just never seeing anybody out there
Yeah.
that looked like me who could go out there and do something different, like being on TV. I mean, the first
Mhm.
Asian show I ever saw was American Girl with Margaret Cho,
Oh,
but
yeah.
that didn't even last that long.
No, I
The
forgot
next
all
big
about it.
yeah, and then the next biggest thing was like the Joy Luck Club, right?
Ah, yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even I have an older sister, and she even shares the story how one day she just like walked by the closet and she looked at herself and she totally
Mhm.
forgot that she was Asian because we've been brought up in this Western culture.
Yeah.
We speak in this Western accent that we forget that we're Asian.
Mhm.
And
Right,
so,
right.
so those are some of the moments that made me like not want to be Asian. And
Uh-huh.
yeah.
No, I hear you 100%. There were so many moments where I was embarrassed to speak the language in public, and I would, if my mom tried to say something to me and we're at the store and she's speaking in Vietnamese, I would respond back in English. And she would always snap at me and say, no, respond in Vietnamese. And I'm like, but we're in the store and it's an American store. And it's just like, oh, but no, I wish I knew what I knew now because now I appreciate it, and my children are mixed cultures, so I never was able to teach them the language. And funny thing is, the tables turn. I tell my mom, teach them Vietnamese when you're around them, and she's not. She's like, this is my opportunity to perfect my English, and I'm like, Mom, like you scolded me so much growing up, and now I'm telling you, please, educate them. And she's like, no, this is my opportunity to communicate with them in their language. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're not helping out here. Um, so and one thing that I wanted to touch on that I really thought was a great segue into just everything that you're doing now was you had mentioned during our meet and greet too that there's a confidence gap, that there are overqualified women but they lack the confidence to take the next step. So
Yeah.
please do speak on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such a great question and a great topic that we need to bring awareness to because
Hmm.
this actually just came out, in December of 2020 that I realized like a lot of women face this confidence issue where if we were to go for a promotion, we would over prepare to a T, but yet we
Hmm.
still hold back because of how
Hmm.
we see ourselves
Yeah.
versus a man who's probably like 25% ready. He'll
Yeah.
go for it regardless if he fails or
Exactly.
not.
Yeah.
And I realize women don't have a competence issue, we have a confidence issue. And
Hmm.
this is huge because this gap really stops us from it hurts us because then we end
Yeah.
up not having equal pay, we end up not having so much
Right.
promotions, not being in high positions,
Yeah.
not being in leadership positions, and not
Mhm.
having enough female CEOs. Like I was just reading UN's, World Economic Women's statistic report, and they
Mhm.
said out of the 500 Fortune 500 companies,
Yeah,
only
yeah.
37 are female CEOs
Wow,
that
wow,
are
it's
run by
crazy.
500 Fortune 500 companies. And that needs to
Insane.
change. And the only way to do that is to help, build women up, build their
Mhm,
confidence up
mhm,
so they can go out there and do the things that they want. If they want to be a CEO, if they want to get that promotion, if they want to be in that high position or run for
mhm.
politics, whatever it is,
Yeah,
it has to start with our confidence because if we don't have the
right.
confidence to go out there and do it, we're not going to go out there and do it. We're just going to be too scared.
Mhm.
And we end up being, you know, have low self-confidence from inaction because we're too scared to go out
Yes.
there. And so this is such a huge issue. And I
Yeah,
don't think a
yeah.
lot of people talk about this much, or it's just like nobody brings it up. And I
Uh-huh.
realize like we need to bring this up so women can realize like there's nothing wrong with you. You're more than competent. It's just like you just need to have the confidence and see yourself in a way that you can go out there and do it.
Mhm.
And sometimes, we as women, it's harder for us too because we go through so many things, the gender stereotypes we have, what a woman is supposed to act like, right? I mean, a lot of things aren't ladylike for us. And it's like, who decided what was ladylike and not ladylike,
Right, yeah.
right? I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure probably a man. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
words hurt and words kill our careers. So
Mhm.
a great example, I'm pretty sure you've watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, yeah.
A very great
100%.
show.
And the reunion that they just did too. That was
Yes.
so awesome.
So yes, the reunion special. You remember how the original Aunt Viv finally came out and told
Yes.
her story. And she
Mhm.
said that she was labeled as a difficult woman in Hollywood,
Right.
which really killed her career,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's so true. Words hurt when
Yeah.
we're labeled as difficult or aggressive, like something's wrong with us. Like if a man goes after what he wants, he's confident, he's courageous. But if a
Mm-hmm.
woman does the same exact thing, she's aggressive, she's too much, she's difficult, she's
Mm-hmm.
she's ambitious. But
Yes.
how is ambitious being a negative thing? Like it has to,
Exactly.
that should be a positive thing. Like we're
Yeah.
going after what we want, and it's 2021. We need to take these labels out. And so, I really want to, just bring awareness to this, because at least if you're aware that we go through this confidence issue, and I'm
Right.
guilty of it. I mean, I
Yeah.
still get scared doing things. Like we're human, we're not robots.
Uh-huh.
But the more we push through our fears, the more confident we'll get. And sometimes it sucks. Sometimes you just really, really got to push through it, even if you feel like puking, or if you have sweaty palms, or
Yeah.
if you're stuttering.
Uh-huh.
Once you push through it, and like you're still standing,
Yeah.
you can conquer anything. Like
Exactly.
my mentor, she's always like, just ask yourself after, but did you die? If you
But
didn't,
did
you're
you
all
die?
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And if it's a no, then you're good.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And so one of the things, gosh, so I was having chills when you mentioned the OG Aunt Viv and the story that she was telling, and how she kept saying over and over to Will that, because of, when you label a woman, a black woman, a dark, complexion woman like myself as difficult, you've completely abolished my career. And it was just like what you were saying just gave me chills, because it's so true. It's so true. And I can use examples from my professional life even that I can think of that absolutely 100%, because somebody was described as difficult, yeah, they probably got what they needed out of it, but most times they never were able to advance because they were always in that bucket, and it's unfortunate. And absolutely 100%, I think women are not in the industry enough representing higher level management leadership. And I remember doing for my MBA, I had done a paper on that. I can't even quote it now, but the percentage was so low for senior level leadership that were females. It was ridiculous and appalling and just upsetting and shocking, because when I went through my MBA, it was in 2016, 15 timeframe. So it wasn't that long ago. So 5 years ago, you would think, oh, we should be pretty up there, right? Nope, not so much. I think the percent was like 3% CEOs and top companies at the time. I think, I can't even quote it at this time, but it was just ridiculously low and so, so sad. So yeah, 100%. I think that women and confidence, we have to work on it more. There's so much more for us, and we have it. It's in us. We just allow society to tell us, no, actually, you should stay over here. Um, and it makes me laugh, because when you said, who tells you what a lady should be like? How should you act like a lady? Just a funny story, totally off topic, but sort of relevant. One time we went to go eat crabs. I love Maryland crabs. And so we found a crab place here in Baltimore, or not Baltimore, in Miami. I'm from Maryland originally. So it's hard to come by real blue Maryland crabs. And we were sitting there eating, and there was this older couple. They were definitely senior age. They were the cutest thing, just eating there, eating crabs together, slow and steady. And all you hear is the husband goes, "You're not eating very ladylike." And oh my gosh, I wanted to run over and hug the lady when the wife responded, "Well, I don't want to be a lady." And I mean, like my husband, my kids, we all heard it, and we were just trying so hard not to like seem like we were rudely laughing, but we enjoyed that comment so much. And so that's like, I throw that back at my husband all the time. Well, I don't want to be a lady, like, don't tell me how to be a lady.
And like
So
what is the ladylike way to eat crab? Like it's crab. It's gonna be
yeah,
messy.
you're gonna be, it's like all in or nothing, you're
Yeah,
not,
it's
it's,
like you're cracking the shells, the little pieces of meat will be on your face as
yeah,
you're trying to like open it. Like it's
yeah,
not a there's no fancy way of eating a crab. It's just gonna be a
exactly.
hot mess. And
Yes.
people have to realize like you have to be okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what are some ways that you think, Sheena, that you've recommended people and women in general to build their confidence?
So the one thing I mentioned was fear. Learn to
Mhm.
push through your fears. I
Yeah.
know it's hard. Believe me, I've been there. There's still things that I'm going through, that I'm
Mhm.
pushing through, that I feel like puking all the time, but I know that if I push through it, I will become more confident and I will get better. But you got to start with that first one. I know
Mhm.
it's really hard. I know it because like I've been through so many. I remember doing my first video. That was the hardest thing ever.
I actually
It, my
watched it.
my first 2-minute video
Yeah.
took 2 hours to create because
Oh.
I was just so scared. I was so scared
Yeah.
of what people might think of me, if they
Mhm.
would laugh at me or if they think, look at this crazy Chinese girl doing this. And so but I pushed through it, right?
Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
time was, I was talking to, a client to sell a media package, and that just was a hot mess. Like I was
Mhm.
stuttering, I was laughing out of nervousness. Like when I get nervous, I laugh. Like I just laugh. I don't know. It's just something that I deal with.
Uh-huh.
And it was just really bad. But I went through it and I pushed through it and I was
Yeah.
like, and if like I'm still standing and I didn't die, it's all good. So,
Yeah. But did you
sometimes you have
die?
to, but did you die? I know. Or, sometimes you realize like what's the worst that can happen? And if you
Uh-huh.
can push through it, that's fine. But
Yeah.
sometimes you need to learn to embrace it and let it fuel you. So everyone knows who Bono
Mhm.
is, or maybe in our generation, everyone knows who Bono is,
Yeah.
but he still has his own fears every time he goes on stage. But now he uses that fear to fuel him
Mhm.
to give the best performance of his life to his
Mhm.
audience. So instead of, letting it stop you, let it fuel you to take action.
Mhm. Mhm.
Another great thing that we don't do as women, especially as Asian women, is ask for help. I
Yeah.
know because I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
I know sometimes we've been told that asking for help is a sign of weakness. And then,
Mhm.
as Asians, we
Yep.
have so much pride that
Yeah.
it really kills us. And we
Yeah.
have to learn to like let go of that pride. I've been
Uh-huh.
guilty of it. Like I've been too prideful to ask for help.
Yeah.
And because of that, I delayed my own success. And
Mhm.
the moment I asked for help or seeked help, is the
Mhm.
moment where I really gained confidence. And
Yeah.
so especially when it comes to confidence and mental health, you need to ask for help because you
Mhm.
don't have to do this alone, especially when we're locked down in our homes. We have a pandemic going on. Our mental
Mhm.
issues have heightened. And so
Mhm.
seeking professional help is
Yes.
okay. It should be okay, especially, for Asian people out
Yeah.
there. I know it's such a taboo in our culture, but I
Yeah.
want to be able to say it's okay to seek professional help. It's okay
Mhm.
to talk to somebody about it. It's okay that you feel the way that you do because we're all human and we
Mhm.
go through some form of mental health issue,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? And so seek help. I think seeking help is like a huge thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing that, as ladies we're not told to do is make the first move. So
Yeah.
if you want to, interview that dream guest, just go out there and send an email. Who cares if
Mhm.
they say yes or no? But the fact that you
Mhm.
went out there and did it, you
Yes.
never know what could happen. I know some of
Exactly.
us, we feel like, what if everything goes wrong? Instead of asking yourself that,
Uh-huh.
ask the opposite. What if everything goes right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You just never know what might happen. But when you practice just making the first move, you'll get better at it and it
Mhm.
really helps you build that confidence.
Mhm.
Some
Mhm.
other things I do is I wear confidence colors. So if you ever see me, I'm always in
Ooh,
red because
yeah.
for me, red is the color of courage
I did this for
and
you.
confidence. Thank you. And also in Chinese culture, red is a happy color. So we wear it for
Mhm.
birthdays, especially because it's a
Yeah.
happy occasion.
Yeah.
So red might not be your color, but pick a
Mhm.
color that
Exactly.
promotes confidence for you.
Yeah.
Because it's true, right? Sometimes when you look good and feel good on the outside, it'll help you also. Like
Uh-huh.
it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
Find your own form of meditation. So,
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
comes to confidence, you don't have to do like what everyone else is doing. You do what
Mhm.
feels right for you. So for me,
Exactly.
like when I decided to try meditation, I couldn't do it. I would end up falling asleep and I thought something was wrong with me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
realized it just wasn't for me. But
Uh-huh.
my form of meditation is working out, going out for a jog when the weather is
Uh-huh.
nice, because that's
Yes.
when I get to like mind dump everything and not really care about,
Uh-huh.
what's going on and just kind of like whatever, think random thoughts, be okay with it, or just think nothing.
Yeah.
And so I realized that because we're all different human beings, we're going to find different ways to build confidence. And you
Right.
should be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because before I started my podcast, I thought if you had to be confident, you had to be loud and boisterous, but really you don't
Yeah.
have to.
Exactly.
You just have to show up as your authentic self. And that means
Exactly.
if you're an
Mhm.
introvert, that's not a big deal. Be an
Right.
introvert. You can still
Yeah.
be an introvert and still be confident.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
those are some of the ways that would,
Wow.
help. I would advise people to build
Yeah.
confidence.
Absolutely. And one thing that's been you've given great advice, and what when you were speaking, it made me think of what's challenged my confidence lately was it's Clubhouse. Like I am so obsessed with Clubhouse. And then finally the other day, they were speaking about something and I was like, you know what? I have to raise my hand. I don't even know how to do this, but I'm just going to do this. And, I was like, I do this all the time. I do this on my podcast. I do this when I do public speaking. Why can't I? It's technology. All I have to do is hit a button and then speak into it. Like, but it challenged me to a deeper level. And I think what broke the challenge and the lack of confidence for me was when I was listening to one of the rooms that Grant Cardone was running, and he spoke about, or he had people coming on, and some of them were giving pitches, some of them were not. There was a Shark Tank one that was doing the same thing, and I was just like, oh, some of these people just came on here with a lot of confidence, but not a great pitch, but they were getting still valid responses and feedback on what they were doing, and some of them were actually getting sponsors for their projects, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? All this person did was raise their hand, had the confidence to do that, and did it. And now look where they're, now they're like going to be contacting them on a private level to speak more about what they were talking about. And I'm just like, all right, I got to do this, and that is one of the things that recently I found has challenged my confidence. And usually I'm a pretty confident person. I'll speak to you. If I don't have anything to say, I won't say anything. But when I have something that I'm very passionate about, I will speak up and I will speak my mind in a very professional way. And articulate it as best as I can so that I can really get to the individuals. But you're right, confidence it's something that we have to build upon, and 100%. I can't even say that, like, everything you said was great feedback. And it's not just women of Asian culture. I have found doing this podcast and YouTube is I've learned so many women of so many different walks of life are the ones. It's just in general, it's all cultures, it's affecting us across all cultures. And so maybe the blonde hair, blue eyes are the ones that are most confident. Maybe they're not, but I think even on every level, we're all feeling it, no matter what skin color we are. Um, so Sheena, tell me, who was your role model growing up?
um I don't know if I had an actual role model. Maybe Cinderella when I was really, really young, because that was like my favorite cartoon of all time. But I don't know
Blonde
if
hair,
that would
blue
be a
eyes.
great, yeah, exactly. I don't know if that would be a great role model. But
Yeah.
one of the women I love looking up to is my grandmother. I mean, she's been through
Mm,
so much, but she can still get up and smile and say,
yeah.
today is a good day. And,
Yeah.
when I hear her stories of what she went through back in the day, it's just crazy. And,
Hmm.
she's just such an amazing woman. Like sometimes I'm like, how does she do it all?
Right.
And like
Yeah.
they sacrifice so much and always like just give and never take in return. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. So,
Hmm.
especially as Asian women, we've been taught to just give and never ask for anything in return. But, life doesn't work that way. It's,
Hmm.
give and take type of thing, right? Like you should, you should be able to take what people give to you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And as Asian women, we always like never want to take anything, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, how can I help you? Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Even though it's like you want to
Yeah.
go help as much as you can, and they want to return the favor
Yeah.
out of like just pure, gratefulness. And you're
Uh-huh.
just like, no, I don't want it. I don't know,
Yeah.
want it because you were brought up that way.
Hmm.
And so I think we have to also realize like it's okay to take things. Like,
Hmm.
if someone wants to pay for your service, take it. Like you're
Yeah.
doing something to create a result for them as well. So don't feel bad about it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, my grandmother is probably someone that I look up to a lot.
Oh.
Another woman who's probably great, my mother too.
Yeah.
I mean, she came to this country not knowing what, like, how to live, like, a normal life. Like, she never cooked a day in
Hmm.
her life, never did chores, but she
Wow.
did what she had to do
Yeah.
to, provide for her family. And
Yeah.
for some people, that may be a small thing, but for me, I think that's huge because it just makes me realize like you can learn a new skill at any given age. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
matter if you're 20, 40, 60, or 80. Like,
Uh-huh.
if you really want to learn it, you will find a way to do it.
Yeah.
And then another woman I really love looking up to is Sandra Oh. Like she's just awesome.
Mm. She is pretty awesome. I like her a lot. I like her a lot. All right. So when it comes to confidence and lots of dogs barking. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to cut that part out. All right. So that's great. I really absolutely love the people who are in your life that are impressionable to you and that you look up to. And I think it's fantastic to always have familial references, and then also have like that one that you really look up to that's really gone big and done bigger things, and that's amazing. My mom's definitely on my list as well. But so what can you do when you feel like you're hitting a slump? And when you come, I come out here and I have all this confidence, but there are days when I just don't feel like I am my usual self. I don't feel 100%. What recommendations, what suggestions do you have for me?
For sure. I mean, we all have those days when we're down, and sometimes the greatest way is just to feel it out, right? Just if you're depressed, just be depressed. If you're not feeling
Mhm.
great, it's fine. Then just binge watch on Netflix and K-drama if you want, if that will make you feel better, because you'll
Yeah.
be able to, let all those feelings out and have new feelings come in. And,
Mhm.
you get to decide when you can get up and just like move on from it. So
Mhm.
sometimes you just got to feel your feelings, right?
Mhm.
Another
Mhm.
great way is just I say three different affirmations to myself
Okay.
when I have moments of self-doubt, and that is I am love, I am worthy, and I am enough. And I keep
Mhm.
telling myself that until I feel that I'm confident.
Mhm.
Another great way is celebrating every success you have. If you
Yeah.
want, have a success log or a success list, you know,
Oh,
because because sometimes we just feel like we haven't accomplished anything. But if you
right.
have that list and just kind of look at it, it's like, wow, I've done this, this, and this. Like I'm
Yeah.
actually a badass.
Yeah.
So and honestly, when we learn to celebrate every single success, we end up attracting more success, right? I
Mhm.
know it's so hard sometimes. We live in this like world of social media and everyone's like posting all the things that they've done. And you're like, well, my little thing isn't as great as hers, but who cares? You two are
Mhm.
two different people. Celebrate it
Yeah,
anyway. So
exactly.
I think those are some of the things that I would do. Sometimes just journaling, like,
Yeah.
writing my feelings out. Like find an outlet to let your feelings out, whether it's writing, whether it's watching K drama or
Mhm.
singing, whatever it is, just find an outlet because then
Yeah.
you'll feel a lot better. Even if it means just going in the bathroom and
Yeah.
screaming,
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. And one of my guests that was on the show for our season premiere for season two, she had mentioned that one of the things that she does is like she'll when she's driving home, like her way to decompress is to just turn on her favorite music and have like a solo concert and just all by herself. And so she comes home, she's in an awesome mood. Her husband's like, "Why are you so in such a great mood?" And she's like, "Because I just had a solo concert all by myself." And she's pumped and she's feeling good. And I think no, like there's no one size fits all, and definitely like everybody just has to find what is their way to relieve all of the issues that are on their mind in their world, just to be able to step away for a little bit. If it's a 1 minute meditation, running, exercising, like you were saying earlier, I 100% like I those are great, great. And sometimes though we forget, right? So when we're in that slump, we do forget. And so I like your success list. I think that's really great. I think a lot of people do like check off lists for the day to make sure that you are succeeding everything you need to do by the end of the day. But I like your like check off list for not check off, but your success list, because then that really highlights the good things that you've done and it holds it in one area, and it doesn't have to be today's only. It could be like a rolling list where it encompasses all of 2021 successes. So that's an awesome feedback. So Sheena, you've got a podcast. What is it called?
The Tao of Self Confidence.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And then um, you've interviewed how many confident women?
I've interviewed over 800 confident women. When I first started, I interviewed women from all walks of life, and I decided to solely interview women of Asian descent. And so I've
Okay.
interviewed over 700 Asian women on this topic,
Wow.
which I think is very needed because every time I do an interview, they were like, "I wish I had
Mhm.
this when I was younger," and
Oh
that's
wow.
why I also created the podcast because I
Yeah.
wish I had something like this when I was younger. And
Right.
to be honest, I didn't even think I would hit this number when I
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
started.
That's insane. How long did it take you to get to 800? Wow.
About 5 years? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're just knocking out podcasts. How often are you getting those podcasts out?
So when I first started, I was doing 5 episodes a week. I
Hmm.
have season breaks in between, but now I've limited it to once every 2 weeks just because
Yeah.
I have so many women, and I also wanna find different platforms to elevate Asian women's
Mm.
voices because
Hmm.
it's really necessary because
Yeah.
it's 2021
Yeah.
and we're still super underrepresented.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree. I definitely think, I was really excited to meet you. When I saw your name, you only put your first name down. And so I was like, But I do have a friend named Sheena, and she's Filipino. And so I was just like, maybe. So when we met for the meet and greet, I can only assume. But I was just like, all right. And then when you started speaking, I was like, yes, because there's not enough of us. And there's different platforms. There's so many different platforms too, like on Facebook's all the groups that are on there that are for Asian people, and the inspiring stories that I hear. And I'm like, we don't hear enough of this. And I am so glad that they've made like Asian Hustle Network and then the Asian Podcast Network and just all these different networks and groups that we can now belong to and feel like a sense of belonging, and connect with people who have similar stories and similar journeys. We all have very, very similar backgrounds, and I'm so happy that you're doing something like this and being able to just connect the Asian women all over, and lifting us up and putting us on a platform that we weren't on and in before. So thank you. Um, so let me ask you something. What was the pivotal moment for you, Sheena, when you decided that you had to go on this journey of self-confidence and speaking about it and making it more, bringing more awareness to it?
Um, I've always wanted to help women, especially Asian women, in some
Mhm,
way, and I think
mhm.
it's just I don't want to sound mean, but I was just sick of seeing the same old white men like on stage, on TV, on
Yeah,
books, and I was like, something just needs to change. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I was just tired of it. I have nothing against them, but it's just
Mhm,
like we keep seeing the same faces over and over again. It's like there's no one else out there who could speak these topics. Like, is it always just
mhm.
going to be these people? And I realized if I wanted things to change, like it would have to start with me, even if I had no influence, no clue what I was doing. I just had to make it happen.
Yeah.
And, we have to realize like if you really want that change, it really has to start with you. And it's okay if you're the only person doing it, because
Mhm,
if you have that huge purpose, people will see it and they will follow you because of that.
mhm, mhm. Awesome. So do you think that this journey that you've taken so far, it's taken you 5 years, you've met 800 of incredible, incredible women. What what is your take on whether or not it's part of your DNA?
Um, Well, I think we're all born with confidence for
Mm,
sure, but life gets in the way,
yeah,
society gets in the way. They tell us certain things that we can and can't do.
yeah,
And then we start, getting fear, getting self doubt.
yeah,
But it's like exercising, right? You can get back again. You can work on it. And this
yeah.
is why, with confidence, it does take daily actionable work because we
Uh-huh.
go through different challenges, different roadblocks, and we have to
Mhm,
learn to pick ourselves back up and keep moving forward. And the more
mhm.
we can practice doing that, the more confident we become. I
Yeah.
remember interviewing a girl who got bankrupt 3 times, 3
Oh, wow.
times.
Wow.
Yeah. But she said every time she got back up, it was a lot faster and it happened and she was able to get back on her feet a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And so we can't see failure as a bad thing. We just have to see it as feedback. And I know
Mhm, mhm.
failure is like for us the end of all ends. I mean, I failed kindergarten for coloring outside the lines. And so
Mhm.
I always thought I was just a huge failure in general. And sometimes we don't realize our past traumatic childhood experience really hurts who we are today. And if we're
Yeah.
not aware of it, it's going to stick with us until we are like, oh my God, this is why I'm like this.
Mhm, mhm. Absolutely. So, what's in store for you for the next 6 months to a year? What's your 2021 look like? What are some of your goals? What are some of your ideas?
For sure. So some of the things I want to do is really just kind of create more visibility for the Asian community. And so whatever that looks like, I'm not sure yet, but I know I want to create that
Mhm,
visibility.
mhm.
I have 2 books coming out. We have a book
All
series
right.
called Women Who Boss Up,
Uh-huh.
and I have 2 books coming out. So part one is an Asian Women Who Boss Up book, and the part two is Women of Color Who Boss Up.
Uh-huh.
And these are really important books because how many books do you see that feature Asian women in a cover or feature
Mhm.
women of color? Not just
Yeah.
one, but like 12 to 16 women in
Yeah.
a book cover.
Right,
None. And
right.
so this is why I'm always trying to find different forms of media
Uh-huh.
to bring that visibility
Yeah.
because it's necessary. Like
Uh-huh.
it's 2021 and we don't have books like these. And
Mhm.
so like I mentioned, if we want change, we got to start with us. And
Exactly,
so
exactly.
I'm really excited to have these books come out and show others what's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I so much appreciate that because one of the things that I am trying to do is to get the message out there. Like my story is also very unique and I feel like it's unique in my way, but when I started speaking about it and I started meeting other people, I realized it's not so unique after all. And a lot of people go through the same thing, but they don't want to share the story. And my story is that I was a high school dropout. I dropped out at 16, 17 years old. But now at 38 years old, last month, I was able to acquire my doctorate degree. So I went from high school dropout and then went back and had to do it the long and hard way after having kids and then being able to do that. And it's a journey that not a whole lot of people talk about. And especially when it's an Asian culture where you're just like, that's so taboo. Like, how can you do that? You're so shameful. You're supposed to be a doctor or a lawyer. And that didn't happen. But when I was ready for it, I made it happen. And that's what's important. Um, I also interviewed an ex-Vietnamese. He is Vietnamese, but he was a Vietnamese ex-convict. And his story was just, growing up in a society where you weren't accepted and he didn't have a father figure. So his story was, I was on the streets looking for a father figure. And the first person that gave me time, I became, their underling. And of course, it's on the streets, they're thugs, they're gangs. He ended up going down the wrong road because he was seeking for something on a deeper level and found connection in the wrong kind of way. And it led him to being in jail. And he spent years and years in jail, almost a decade in jail. And now just coming out and having to learn. I mean, the Zoom session, it was the cutest thing. He didn't know how to Zoom. He was just like, I've been in jail for 9 years. I don't know how to do this. I said, okay, go here, download this, then, I'll see you then. And it was so like it, but it's one of those things where you have to share the stories just because, you know, not every Asian story is a success either. And so to be able to get those different types of stories out there to say, you know what, you might have fallen at one point in time in your life, but there's time for you to pick it back up and pick up where you left off and just go hard or go home, and just keep going and go for that dream that you once had or revisit it and figure out what your true passion is now. So,
Awesome.
oh,
I think that's great. I mean, sometimes I know as Asian culture, we have
mhm,
to like have this perfect picture that we have to show everyone, but really if we just show how like what a hot mess we are sometimes and we can still
exactly.
like move on
Yeah,
with life, I
yeah.
think people can relate to that a lot more. I mean,
Uh-huh.
like with you like the guest that you mentioned was an ex-convict. I mean, I interviewed a lady who went to jail for 3 years,
Mhm,
was a drug addict, a drug dealer, but
mhm.
now she's a self-confidence coach. She has her own school. She
Wow.
was featured as a contribution like a coach for Dwayne Johnson's reality show, and she
Wow.
was also featured in one of John Legend's videos. But
Wow.
she is such a great example of your past doesn't have to be your future. Yes,
Exactly,
sometimes we don't have
exactly.
the prettiest past,
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean we need to have an ugly future or present as
right.
well. Like it's up to us to create that decision. And
Yep.
yeah, sometimes it's
Yes.
not easy, sometimes it sucks, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's hard, but whoever said anything worthwhile was like easy to do, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I think that's great. And I think, yeah, if we just show how messy we are sometimes, it's like
Yeah.
right now, my eyebrows are like a bush. And, that's life because all the salons are closed. And if I did it,
Right.
I would end
You'd
up
have
not
none.
having eyebrows.
Exactly.
It would be a
Lesser of
hot
two
mess.
evils.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure. All right. Well, Sheena, if I gave you a billboard and you can put anything, any message, anything you want on that billboard, what would it be?
Wow. I think I would say behind every successful woman is herself.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. No, nothing else. Just that. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So is there anything that I should have asked that I did not ask you today?
Um, I think you've asked pretty much everything. I think we've covered a lot of
Okay.
things. I think it's just really mostly, as for Asian cultures, like I know we go through so many things. We have so many
Mhm.
expectations, especially as Asian girls, I feel like we have way more,
Mhm.
and sometimes we just have to learn to like do stuff for ourselves, even
Mhm.
if our families don't understand what we're doing.
Yep.
I think as long as we're not hurting anyone and it's
Mhm.
creating a global impact or a positive impact, then we should go out there and do it.
Yep. Yeah.
Because sometimes they will never understand, but if they see you doing it and
Uh-huh.
in the long run they see what you're going towards, they will
Yeah.
understand.
Yep.
And sometimes it can be such a lonely journey, and that's why there's
Yes.
our podcast that can help you get through that and be
Mhm.
okay to seek help. I think it's really important to seek help, whether you need
Mhm.
a mentor, a coach,
Yep.
join a women's group. It's very important.
Mhm.
And, even if you don't know, if you don't even know how to start building confidence or some of the
Yeah.
ways, like I even have a free report where you can it's called 8 Ways
Yeah.
to Boss Up Your Confidence. You can check it out on my websites. It's,
Yes.
it's just a free download where you can just check
Uh-huh.
it out
Yeah.
because sometimes we just don't even know where to start.
Right,
So
right, right. So commitment free, just download it and check it out and see what it's all about. So what are some excellent resources too then that you would like to kind of push people to as well? What are some great resources that they can go to right now at their fingertips to find some information?
Well, for I think YouTube is a great platform.
Yeah.
When it comes to building confidence, there's so many videos out there on confidence.
Yeah.
Um, I've also I'm like books. Reading books is great. The
Mhm.
book I'm currently reading is called The One Thing,
Mhm.
which is a really great book. It really tells you like, what is that one thing you're known for? And I think that makes your life a lot easier because instead of trying to run around trying to do like 20 million things, if you focus on that one thing,
Mhm.
everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so just learning to find different books that will help you out there is great. Joining women's groups is really
Mhm.
important. I mean, um, like we have the books coming out and we also do virtual summits where it's free to join, and
Yeah.
I can share that link later on with you if
Yes.
anyone wants to join it out. We usually hold these
Okay.
like every 2 months called Women Who Boss Up. And
Uh-huh.
so it's just a safe space for women out there
Yep.
who want to join like-minded women. And if you've
Mhm.
never didn't know how to create a business or build a business or want to learn more, I mean, feel
Yeah.
free to register for that. And so those are some of the resources I would do. And
Okay.
then
Okay.
for Asian community, Asian Hustle Network is a great community.
Mhm.
It's a very supportive community for the Asian people
Yeah.
because we don't have things like that. And this is why they blew up so much, because it was just definitely needed.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. All right, Sheena. So if people resonated today and would like to learn more about your story, your podcast, your book that's coming up, and just follow in what you're doing, where can they find you?
For sure. So you can check me out at sheenayapchan.com,
Hmm.
or you can check out the selfconfidence.com. You can check out all the resources there, the free report. Even do free 20-minute coaching and for
Hmm.
anyone who needs coaching on self-confidence. You can also pre-order the book.
Hmm.
There'll be a link there to pre-order the books. And
Wow.
if the
You're that
easiest
close
way,
to finishing.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Wow. Nice.
the the easiest way to find me
Uh-huh.
is to Google Sheena Yapchan. I'm like the only Sheena Yapchan on the internet, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So just Google me and you can find me.
Yes, yes, that's awesome. Having a unique name is really awesome. So Sandoval is my husband's last name, so it's not even my last name. My maiden name is it's Vietnamese and it's Nguyen or Wen is how people pronounce it. Either way, it's incorrect when you pronounce it in English. But we'll answer to it. But even then, Jasmine Nguyen, it's like so common now. I have a niece named Jasmine Nguyen. I'm like, really, cousin? It's my name. It's my name. But no, she's good. But all right, so it was so nice speaking to you today. I think that there's some incredible nuggets that you have to share, and definitely encourage everybody to connect with you on a different outside of here, and just reach out to you and find out and download that 8 ways to boss up, because it's a free download. It's easy. It's at your fingertips. You can do it while you're laying in bed or whatever, and really just kind of figure out if you're where you need to be. So thank you so much, Gina.
Thanks for having me. It was a great time.
Thank you. I had an incredible time.